Imagine a version of yourself so strong, so grounded, that nothing in life can shake you. Picture waking up each day with calm confidence, moving through challenges with quiet strength, and standing firm in your worth no matter what the world throws at you. This is not a dream. This is the journey you are about to begin. You are about to become the person no one can break. The journey to becoming a person no one can break does not begin with strength. It begins with honesty. It begins in the quiet moments when you admit to yourself that life has shaken you more than once, that people have disappointed you, that your own doubts have made you crumble inside. Growth always starts with truth, and the truth is that you are here because something inside you knows you were meant to rise higher than the version of yourself you have been living as. Something inside you knows you are capable of becoming stronger, calmer, wiser, and more unshakable than you ever imagined. Every person who becomes unbreakable begins the journey from a place of uncertainty. They begin while they are still healing. They begin while they are still afraid. They begin while they still question their worth. But they begin, and that choice changes everything. Becoming unbreakable does not require perfection. It requires commitment. A quiet inner promise that from this moment forward, you will grow into the kind of person who does not collapse under pressure, does not lose themselves when others walk away, and does not allow the storms of life to define who they are. You may have felt fragile before. You may have given too much of yourself to the wrong people. You may have trusted the wrong voices. You may have doubted your own strength because no one encouraged you to see it. But the truth is that strength has always lived within you, hidden beneath years of worry, fear, and expectations. Strength is not something you find. Strength is something you uncover. It is the part of you that survives everything you thought would break you. It is the part of you that kept going even when you wanted to stop. It is the part of you that refused to give up on yourself even when you felt alone. There is a moment in every life when the need for transformation becomes louder than the fear of change. Maybe that moment is now. Maybe you feel it in your chest. A quiet pull telling you that you cannot continue living as the version of yourself who keeps shrinking to make others comfortable. You cannot keep giving your power away. You cannot keep letting fear make decisions for you. You cannot continue carrying the weight of past experiences that were never meant to define your future. You deserve a life where you walk with confidence, where you know your worth, and where your peace cannot be shaken by the noise around you. Becoming the person no one can break is not about becoming hard or cold. It is about becoming centered. It is about knowing yourself so deeply that external events cannot pull you off balance. It is about mastering your emotions instead of letting your emotions master you. It is about creating an inner world that stays calm even when the outer world is chaotic. The strongest people are not the loudest. They are the ones who move with quiet certainty. They know who they are. They do not need validation. From this point forward, your past becomes your fuel. Every disappointment becomes wisdom. Every loss becomes direction. Every setback becomes strength. When life tries to break you again, you will not be the same person you were before. You will not be fragile. You will not be uncertain. You will not be easily shaken. You will be a person who has learned to turn pain into clarity, rejection into motivation, and solitude into power. Imagine yourself standing at the center of your own life, grounded and steady, no longer pulled in 100 directions. Imagine making decisions based on what you truly want instead of what others expect from you. Imagine waking up with a sense of inner peace that cannot be taken away by someone leaving, something failing, or a plan changing. Imagine trusting yourself enough to walk away from anything that does not honor you. This version of you exists. You are not creating a new self. You are returning to the self you were always meant to be. Strength grows quietly. Sometimes it grows in the silence of your room at night, when you finally choose peace over chaos. Sometimes it grows in the morning when you push yourself to rise, even when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it grows in the way you refuse to respond to negativity. Sometimes it grows in the moments you choose to stay calm instead of reacting. Strength is not always loud. Most of the time, it is invisible, but is always growing. And soon, you become someone no one can break. From this point forward, your past becomes your fuel. Every disappointment becomes wisdom. Every loss becomes direction. Every setback becomes strength. When life tries to break you again, you will not be the same person you were before. You will not be fragile. You will not be uncertain. You will not be easily shaken. You will be a person who has learned to turn pain into clarity, rejection into motivation, and solitude into power. Imagine yourself standing at the center of your own life, grounded and steady, no longer pulled in 100 directions. Imagine making decisions based on what you truly want instead of what others expect from you. Imagine waking up with a sense of inner peace that cannot be taken away by someone leaving, something failing, or a plan changing. Imagine trusting yourself enough to walk away from anything that does not honor you. This version of you exists. You are not creating a new self. You are returning to the self you were always meant to be. Strength grows quietly. Sometimes it grows in the silence of your room at night, when you finally choose peace over chaos. Sometimes it grows in the morning when you push yourself to rise, even when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it grows in the way you refuse to respond to negativity. Sometimes it grows in the moments you choose to stay calm instead of reacting. Strength is not always loud. Most of the time, it is invisible, but is always growing. And soon, you become someone no one can break. The journey to becoming a person no one can break does not begin with strength. It begins with honesty. It begins in the quiet moments when you admit to yourself that life has shaken you more than once, that people have disappointed you, that your own doubts have made you crumble inside. Growth always starts with truth. And the truth is that you are here because something inside you knows you were meant to rise higher than the version of yourself you have been living as. Something inside you knows you are capable of becoming stronger, calmer, wiser, and more unshakable than you ever imagined. Every person who becomes unbreakable begins the journey from a place of uncertainty. They begin while they are still healing. They begin while they are still afraid. They begin while they still question their worth. But they begin, and that choice changes everything. Becoming unbreakable does not require perfection. It requires commitment. A quiet inner promise that from this moment forward, you will grow into the kind of person who does not collapse under pressure, does not lose themselves when others walk away, and does not allow the storms of life to define who they are. You may have felt fragile before. You may have given too much of yourself to the wrong people. You may have trusted the wrong voices. You may have doubted your own strength because no one encouraged you to see it. But the truth is that strength has always lived within you, hidden beneath years of worry, fear, and expectations. Strength is not something you find. Strength is something you uncover. It is the part of you that survives everything you thought would break you. It is the part of you that kept going even when you wanted to stop. It is the part of you that refused to give up on yourself even when you felt alone. There is a moment in every life when the need for transformation becomes louder than the fear of change. Maybe that moment is now. Maybe you feel in your chest a quiet pull telling you that you cannot continue living as the version of yourself who keeps shrinking to make others comfortable. You cannot keep giving your power away. You cannot keep letting fear make decisions for you. You cannot continue carrying the weight of past experiences that were never meant to define your future. You deserve a life where you walk with confidence, where you know your worth, and where your peace cannot be shaken by the noise around you. Becoming the person no one can break is not about becoming hard or cold. It is about becoming centered. It is about knowing yourself so deeply that external events cannot pull you off balance. It is about mastering your emotions instead of letting your emotions master you. It is about creating an inner world that stays calm even when the outer world is chaotic. The strongest people are not the loudest. They are the ones who move with quiet certainty. They know who they are. They do not need validation. They do not fear rejection. They do not crumble when things go wrong because they trust themselves to rebuild. You may have spent years believing that your sensitivity made you weak. You may have believed that caring too much made you easy to hurt. But sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. You feel deeply because you understand deeply, and the world needs that understanding. The key is learning how to protect your sensitivity instead of letting it be used against you. When you learn emotional discipline, your sensitivity becomes a superpower. You become someone who can feel everything without breaking from anything. Life has a way of testing us long before it strengthens us. Sometimes those tests come through heartbreak. Sometimes they come through failure. Sometimes they come through people who underestimated us, walked away from us, or try to make us doubt ourselves. You may have experienced moments that made you question your value, moments that left you feeling small, but you survived those moments. You're still here. And because you're still here, the story is not over. Your strength is still unfolding. Think about a time when you thought you would not make it through something, yet somehow you did. Think about a time someone hurt you, but you eventually healed. Think about a challenge that felt impossible until it became something you learned from. These memories are not reminders of your suffering. They are reminders of your ability to rise. They are proof that even when life pushed you to the edge, you held on. You endured. You kept going. That is the heart of an unbreakable person. Someone who bends but never breaks. Someone who falls but always returns stronger. From this point forward, your past becomes your fuel. Every disappointment becomes wisdom. Every loss becomes direction. Every setback becomes strength. When life tries to break you again, you will not be the same person you were before. You will not be fragile. You will not be uncertain. You will not be easily shaken. You will be a person who has learned to turn pain into clarity, rejection into motivation, and solitude into power. Imagine yourself standing at the center of your own life, grounded and steady, no longer pulled in 100 directions. Imagine making decisions based on what you truly want instead of what others expect from you. Imagine waking up with a sense of inner peace that cannot be taken away by someone leaving, something failing, or a plan changing. Imagine trusting yourself enough to walk away from anything that does not honor you. This version of you exists. You're not creating a new self. You are returning to the self you were always meant to be. Strength grows quietly. Sometimes it grows in the silence of your room at night, when you finally choose peace over chaos. Sometimes it grows in the morning when you push yourself to rise, even when your heart feels heavy. Sometimes it grows in the way you refuse to respond to negativity. Sometimes it grows in the moments you choose to stay calm instead of reacting. Strength is not always loud. Most of the time, it is invisible, but is always growing. And soon, you become someone no one can break. There comes a moment when you begin to see yourself differently. You start noticing the strength that has been quietly forming inside you. You start realizing that every difficult experience shaped you in ways you did not understand before. You start recognizing that the person you are becoming is far more powerful than the person you used to be. This shift is subtle at first. It feels like a soft change in the way you think, a small rise in the way you carry yourself, a calmness in situations that once made you anxious. But that small shift is the beginning of a transformation that will change your entire life. As you grow, you will see that you do not need to respond to everything. You do not need to fight every battle. You do not need to explain yourself to people who do not listen. Inner peace becomes more valuable than being right. Protecting your energy becomes more important than winning arguments. You stop opening doors for people who only walked in to drain you. You stop allowing situations to pull you backward. You stop giving time to what does not help you evolve. This is the quiet wisdom that makes you unbreakable. There were times when you fell because you cared too much about how others saw you. You wanted to be accepted. You wanted to be understood. You wanted to be appreciated. But somewhere along the way, you realized that not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is meant to support you, and not everyone is meant to walk with you. When this truth settles into your heart, you stop taking things personally. You stop seeing rejection as failure. You start seeing it as redirection. You begin to understand that people leave because their part in your story is over. And that realization frees you from the fear of loss. You learn that your worth is not up for debate. It does not shrink when someone fails to see it. It does not disappear when someone else chooses something or someone over you. Your worth is constant. It lives inside you. And the moment you claim it, you become untouchable. People can misunderstand you, underestimate you, even doubt you, but they cannot break someone who knows their own value. You begin to walk with a quiet confidence that does not come from ego, but from self-respect. Life will always bring challenges. That part never changes. What changes is the way you face them. Instead of asking why things happen to you, you begin asking what they are trying to teach you. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you feel prepared. Instead of falling apart, you adapt. You begin to see challenges as training. They strengthen your mind. They sharpen your focus. They help you grow. And every time you rise after a difficult moment, you strengthen the foundation inside you. Eventually, that foundation becomes so strong that nothing on the outside can shake it. The person you're becoming no longer needs immediate answers. You can sit with uncertainty without feeling lost. You can sit with silence without feeling lonely. You can sit with your own thoughts without feeling afraid of them. This is emotional maturity. This is how you evolve into someone solid. Someone who does not panic when things do not go as expected. Someone who trusts their path, even when the path is not fully visible. You move forward with faith, not fear. Every experience you have lived through has been building the version of you that stands here now. You may not have seen it at the time, but the difficult moments were shaping your character. The quiet nights were building your patience. The painful lessons were developing your wisdom. The disappointments were guiding you toward clarity. Every part of your journey has been preparing you to become the person you were meant to be. And even when you felt weak, even when you felt lost, even when you felt like giving up, there was a strength inside you that refused to let you break. As you grow into your unbreakable self, you start noticing the small changes first. You speak more kindly to yourself. You treat yourself with compassion. You give yourself credit for surviving the things that once felt impossible. You start celebrating progress, not perfection. You begin setting gentle boundaries. You rest without guilt. You say no without explaining. You let go without clinging. These may seem like subtle shifts, but they are signs that you are healing. And healing is the foundation of becoming unbreakable. The world often teaches you to be strong in harsh ways. It tells you to toughen up, to stop caring, to hide your emotions. But becoming unbreakable is not about closing your heart. It is about strengthening your heart so fully that it cannot be shattered by temporary people or temporary circumstances. It is about feeling deeply while standing firmly. It is about loving fully while staying grounded. It is about knowing yourself so well that no one can use your fears or insecurities against you. You discover that the more you grow, the less you need. You no longer chase people who are not meant for you. You no longer beg for love that is not genuine. You no longer accept behavior that disrespects your spirit. You learn to walk away with grace. You learn to let things end with peace. You learn to trust that letting go is not losing. It is clearing space for something better. This calm detachment is one of the greatest strengths you will ever develop. There is a version of you rising that no disappointment can destroy, no rejection can discourage, and no setback can erase. This version of you is patient. This version of you is wise. This version of you is grounded in truth. You are beginning to understand that your power does not come from trying to control everything around you. It comes from mastering what is within you. Your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your choices. When you gain control over your inner world, the outer world loses its power to break you. This journey is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. It is about welcoming every part of yourself, even the parts you once tried to hide. It is about understanding that your imperfections do not make you weak. They make you human. And when you accept your humanity, you unlock the ability to grow endlessly. You are becoming someone no one can break. Not because nothing hurts you, but because nothing stops you. As you move deeper into this journey, you start discovering the quiet strength that comes from understanding yourself. You begin to see your thoughts more clearly. You recognize the patterns that once controlled you. You notice how fear used to whisper in your mind, telling you that you are not enough. And for years, you believed it. For years, you allowed that voice to shape your choices. But now, you are learning that fear is only a visitor. It is not a ruler. It does not decide who you become. It only tests your willingness to rise above it. There is a moment when you begin to ignore the noise around you and listen to the truth inside you. That truth reminds you that you have survived everything so far. It reminds you that you are stronger than your doubts. It reminds you that your story is not defined by the difficult chapters. Those chapters simply taught you how to survive. And now, you are learning how to thrive. Becoming unbreakable does not happen in an instant. It happens in the small decisions you make every day. The decision to stay calm. The decision to walk away. The decision to try again. The decision to believe in yourself even when no one else does. You begin to understand that healing is not about forgetting what happened. It is about letting the past lose its power over you. It is about walking forward without carrying the weight of old wounds on your back. It is about reclaiming the parts of yourself you lost along the way. When you start healing, you stop searching for closure from others. You create closure for yourself. You learn to forgive not because they deserve forgiveness, but because you deserve freedom. You free your heart. You free your mind. And little by little, you take your power back. There were times when life felt heavy and confusing. Times when you questioned if things would ever get better. But you kept going. Even when you felt lost, you kept moving. Even when you felt tired, you kept trying. Even when you felt alone, you held on. That strength may have gone unnoticed by others, but it shaped you. It built you into someone who refuses to break. Someone who finds a way even when the path is unclear. Someone who trusts the process even when it feels slow. With every day that passes, you become more patient with yourself. You stop rushing your growth. You stop comparing your journey to others. You realize that everyone evolves at their own pace, and your pace is exactly where it needs to be. You begin to appreciate your progress instead of criticizing your imperfections. You learn to honor your effort. You learn to honor your resilience. You learn to honor the version of you that kept going when giving up felt easier. True strength is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, and unwavering. It shows up when you choose not to argue. It shows up when you choose peace over chaos. It shows up when you choose to remove yourself from negativity instead of reacting to it. It shows up when you choose patience over frustration. It shows up when you keep your heart open even after it has been hurt. These moments may seem small, but they are the foundation of becoming unbreakable. As you grow, you become more selective with your time and energy. You stop giving space to people who drain you. You stop accepting behavior that makes you feel small. You stop entertaining conversations that lead nowhere. You begin valuing your presence. You start understanding that not everyone deserves access to you. You learn that your energy is sacred, and the more you protect it, the stronger you become. You stop allowing others to decide how you feel. You stop letting people pull you into their chaos. You learn to stand firmly in your peace, even when others try to disrupt it. You realize that being alone is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. Solitude becomes the space where you grow the most. It becomes the place where your mind clears, where your heart heals, where your vision expands. In silence, you learn who you are without the noise of the world. You learn what you truly want. You learn what truly matters. And once you experience the power of solitude, you never again allow loneliness to scare you. Instead, you see it as a moment of transformation. Life will continue to challenge you. People will still disappoint you. Plans will still change unexpectedly, but you will not break the way you once did. You will face challenges with clarity instead of panic. You will respond with intention instead of emotion. You will breathe through the discomfort instead of running from it. You will trust yourself to handle whatever comes because you have handled so much already. Becoming unbreakable does not mean you stop feeling. You will still have moments of sadness, confusion, and uncertainty. But those emotions will no longer control you. They will no longer define your day. They will pass through you without staying. You will honor your emotions without becoming them. And that balance is where true strength lives. When you understand your feelings but do not let them dictate your choices, you begin to live from a place of grounded confidence. You start to see life differently. You notice the lessons behind every experience. You understand that people show you who they are in their actions. And when someone shows you their truth, you believe them. Instead of trying to fix people, you release them. Instead of trying to hold on to things that are falling apart, you let them fall. Instead of trying to force connections, you allow them to happen naturally. This acceptance frees you from unnecessary pain. It opens the door to peace. You begin to trust that whatever is meant for you will not harm you, or confuse you, or make you question your worth. What is meant for you will feel peaceful. It will feel mutual. It will feel steady. And because you learn this, you stop chasing what is not meant for you. You stop forcing what is not aligned with your soul. You stop begging for what does not recognize your value. This quiet detachment becomes one of the strongest qualities you develop. And slowly, you become a person who cannot be broken. Not because life stops testing you, but because you have grown into someone who understands that tests do not define you. How you rise defines you. How you think defines you. How you love defines you. How you continue moving forward defines you. You are becoming that person now. Steady, grounded, wise, untouchable in spirit, fully connected to your inner strength. As this new version of yourself begins to take shape, you start noticing how differently you respond to moments that once overwhelmed you. What used to feel like a crisis now feels like something you can handle with clarity. What used to disturb your peace now barely shakes you. What used to trigger your insecurities now reveals how far you have come. This inner shift is not sudden. It grows quietly day by day until one day you look at yourself and realize that you no longer crumble under pressure. You no longer fear what might go wrong. You no longer lose yourself trying to please others. You have become someone grounded in a strength that cannot be taken away. You begin to understand that peace is not something you find outside yourself, Peace is something you learn to create from within. It is the way you breathe through stress. It is the way you speak to yourself when you feel uncertain. It is the way you choose patience when life feels chaotic. Peace is the calm voice inside you reminding you that everything you need already lives within you. When you cultivate this voice, you become unbreakable because nothing from the outside can overpower what is strong on the inside. There were times when you relied on others for emotional stability, times when you needed reassurance to feel secure, times when you doubted your decisions because someone questioned them. But now you start to trust yourself in a deeper way. You learn to listen to your intuition. You learn to follow your own wisdom. You learn that your inner guidance is far more accurate than the opinions of those who do not live your life or carry your heart. This trust in yourself strengthens you in ways you never experienced before. It becomes the foundation of your resilience. You grow into the understanding that not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Some people are lessons. Some are reminders. Some are temporary companions. And some leave not because you did anything wrong, but because your soul is growing and not everyone can grow with you. When you accept this truth, you stop begging for people to stay. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop chasing connections that require you to shrink. You begin to choose yourself with confidence and calm. And in choosing yourself, you release the fear of being alone. There's a powerful transformation that happens when you stop taking things personally. You begin to see that the way others treat you says more about their inner world than it does about yours. Their anger is theirs. Their insecurity is theirs. Their emotional chaos is theirs. When you understand this, you stop absorbing energy that was never yours to carry. You stop blaming yourself for things you did not cause. You stop letting the moods of others control the direction of your day. This emotional clarity makes you unshakable. You become more aware of your own patterns. You start noticing when you're slipping into old habits. You catch yourself before reacting in ways that once harmed your peace. You slow down before responding. You breathe before speaking. You think before letting your emotions take the lead. This self-observation is not judgment. It is growth. It is you becoming the type of person who chooses their actions instead of being controlled by impulses. This level of self-control is one of the greatest forms of strength a person can develop. As your inner world becomes calmer, your outer world begins to change as well. You attract different conversations. You attract healthier connections. You attract people who respect your boundaries and understand your value. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself or explain your choices because your confidence speaks for you. You carry yourself with a presence that is quiet yet powerful. You no longer fear being misunderstood because you no longer tie your worth to the opinions of others. There will still be moments when life challenges you, moments that test your patience, moments that bring old emotions to the surface, but you will handle them in ways you never could before. You will give yourself time to feel without falling apart. You will give yourself space to think without panicking. You will give yourself compassion instead of criticism. Your healing will not erase your emotions. It will simply guide them with wisdom. You begin to enjoy your own company in ways you never expected. You find comfort in spending time alone. You feel inspired in solitude. You grow in silence. You begin to understand that your relationship with yourself shapes every other part of your life. When you treat yourself with kindness, you stop accepting unkindness from others. When you value your time, you stop giving it to people who do not appreciate it. When you honor your worth, you stop settling for less than you deserve. You are beginning to see that becoming unbreakable is not about building walls. It is about building depth. It is about building awareness. It is about building emotional understanding. You are not blocking the world out. You are learning how to navigate it with strength and clarity. You are learning how to move through pain without losing yourself. You're learning how to respond to challenges with intention instead of fear. You start embracing change instead of resisting it. You understand that change is not a threat. It is an invitation to grow, to evolve, to become more aligned with the person you are meant to be. Change becomes a companion rather than a cause for panic. And with every shift in your life, you become more flexible, more patient, and more confident in your ability to adapt. You begin to trust that everything in your life unfolds in its own time. You stop rushing your journey. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop trying to control what is not meant to be controlled. This surrender does not make you weak. It makes you wise. It allows you to move with life instead of against it. And when you move with life, you find yourself guided to the places, people, and experiences that elevate you. Every day, you grow more grounded. Every day, you feel more stable. Every day, you release something that once held you back. And as the weight of old fears fades, you discover how light your spirit feels. You discover how clear your path becomes. You discover how strong your heart truly is. You are becoming the person no one can break. And it is happening quietly within you, moment by moment, breath by breath. You learn something powerful the moment you stop trying to prove yourself to anyone. You realize that the world is full of people carrying their own fears and their own doubts. Their judgments are rarely about you. They are reflections of what they believe about themselves. When you understand this, you stop walking around with the weight of other people's opinions pressing on your shoulders. You begin to live from a place of inner calm. And that calm makes you unbreakable. Because no matter what someone says, you know your truth. You know who you are becoming. Every person who ever rose to greatness had countless moments when they had to look in the mirror and say, it does not matter who doubts me. What matters is that I do not doubt myself. They built this belief slowly, step by step, choice by choice. You may not realize it now, but you are in the same process. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen the voice inside you. Every time you choose growth over excuses, you reinforce the foundation of the person you are becoming. Change does not happen in one decision. It happens in thousands of small decisions no one sees. There will be days when you feel lost, days when nothing goes your way, days when you question everything you are trying to build. On those days, you must remind yourself that every strong person who ever lived walked through confusion before they walked with clarity. Strength is not the absence of doubt. Strength is continuing even when doubt surrounds you. You're growing through the chaos right now. You're learning how to breathe inside discomfort. You're understanding that storms are not signs to stop. They're signs that you are close to a breakthrough. Imagine a seed under the soil, in the dark, under pressure, surrounded by dirt. No one sees it. No one cheers for it. Yet inside that small seed is a force powerful enough to break through earth and reach the sun. That moment when it breaks the surface is not the moment it became strong. It became strong in silence, in darkness, in pressure. You are that seed. Your strength is being formed even when nothing seems to be happening, even when no one claps for you, even when every day feels the same. Do not underestimate the power of quiet growth. There will always be people who speak without thinking, people who project their fears onto you, people who tell you that you will fail because they gave up on themselves. But you must remember that the person you are becoming does not take advice from the version of someone who quit. You take advice from your future self, the version of you who succeeded, the version of you who kept going, the version of you who refused to break. When you imagine that version of yourself, standing tall after all the battles you survived, you begin to understand the truth. That person is not a fantasy. That person is you, fully grown. You learn to speak to yourself differently when you are becoming unbreakable. Instead of saying, I cannot handle this, you say, I can grow through this. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you say, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of saying, "I'm tired of trying," you say, "I am stronger than the struggle." Every shift in the way you talk to yourself becomes a shift in the way you live. And the world begins to respond to the self-belief that radiates from you. There will be people who misunderstand your silence. They might think you're distant or cold, but you're not cold. You are focused. You are not distant. You are building. You are not ignoring anyone. You are simply choosing yourself. The world has taught you to prioritize everything except your own peace. But peace is the foundation of an unbreakable life. You protect it by choosing who gets access to you. You protect it by walking away from drama. You protect it by refusing to entertain chaos. You protect it by saying no when something no longer aligns with the person you're becoming. You will notice a shift when you stop chasing people. You will feel lighter when you stop trying to convince someone to value you. You will gain strength when you see that you do not need constant reassurance to know your worth. What is meant for you will move toward you. What is not meant for you will fall away. And your only job is to keep walking toward the version of yourself you admire. The world will adjust to your new standards. As you grow, you will also experience something unexpected. The things that once hurt you deeply will no longer affect you. The words that once crushed you will feel meaningless. The disappointments that once consumed you will fade quickly. Not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. You become wiser. You become more aligned with your purpose. And the small storms that once knocked you down will become gentle reminders of how far you have come. You begin to understand that peace is not found in a perfect life. Peace is created inside you when you accept that life will never be perfect. You learn to breathe through challenges. You learn to stay grounded when things change suddenly. You learn to trust that every ending is a beginning in disguise. You learn to believe that something good is always being formed, even when you cannot see it. Strength is not loud. Strength is quiet. It is the calm voice inside you saying, "Keep going." It is the feeling that rises when you think you are done, but push for one more step. It is the discipline that wakes you up when you want to stay in bed. It is the courage that tells you to try again. You are cultivating this strength every single day. And each day that you choose growth over comfort is another day you become harder to shake. You do not become unbreakable by avoiding pain. You become unbreakable by learning how to carry it, how to understand it, how to let it shape you without letting it define you. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your teacher. It shows you where you are still fragile. It shows you what needs healing. It shows you where you have been holding yourself back. And once you learn the lesson, the same pain that once broke you becomes the reason you rise. You're becoming someone who does not run from challenges. You're becoming someone who walks through them with quiet confidence. You're becoming someone who trusts their own strength more than their fear. And this transformation does not need recognition. It does not need applause. It only needs your commitment, your patience, your willingness to grow even when no one is watching. You are slowly stepping into a version of yourself that you once only imagined. And each step you take on this path shapes the foundation of your future. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not lost. You're in the process of becoming. And this process is sacred. You continue your journey without even realizing how much you are changing. You start noticing the shift in small moments. You stay calm in situations that once made you angry. You walk away from conversations that once dragged you into arguments. You take a deep breath instead of rushing into fear. These moments may seem insignificant, but they are proof of your inner evolution. They show that you are becoming someone who responds rather than reacts. Someone who thinks before speaking. Someone who chooses peace over chaos. These are the habits of a person who cannot be easily shaken. You begin to understand that you are responsible for the energy you allow inside your mind. You learn that not every thought deserves your attention. Not every emotion deserves a reaction. Not every situation deserves your involvement. You start protecting your inner world the way you protect your home. You only let in what brings safety, clarity, and purpose. And the moment you start protecting your inner world, you realize that the loudest battles were happening inside you, not around you. You were fighting your own fears, your own beliefs, your own doubts. And now you're learning to make peace with yourself. You also begin to accept that healing is not a straight line. Some days you feel strong and confident. Other days you feel tired and uncertain. This is normal. Growth is not measured by how many good days you have. Growth is measured by how you handle the bad days. Do you give up or do you continue? Do you fall back into old patterns or do you pause, breathe, and make a better choice? Every time you choose the better choice, even if you do it slowly, you grow. You rise. You become stronger than your past. A person who cannot be broken is not someone who never falls. It is someone who rises every time they fall. Someone who refuses to stay in darkness. Someone who understands that healing takes time, and they give themselves that time without shame. They speak to themselves with patience. They encourage themselves when no one else does. They forgive themselves for mistakes because they understand that perfection is not the goal. Becoming better is the goal. Becoming wiser is the goal. Becoming stronger is the goal. You start spending more time alone because solitude becomes the place where you hear your own thoughts clearly. In silence, you find direction. In silence, you find truth. In silence, you find yourself again. Solitude is not loneliness. It is the space where you reconnect with the person you are becoming. It is where you reflect on what you want from your life. It is where you let go of the noise of the world and listen to the quiet guidance that comes from your heart. People who cannot be broken spend time in solitude because they understand that clarity is found within, not outside. You realize that not everyone will understand your journey. Some will question your choices. Some will judge your silence. Some will think you're changing too fast or too slow. But you know something they do not know. You know how much strength it took to reach this point. You know how many battles you fought alone. You know how many nights you stayed awake trying to find hope in the darkness. They do not know the depth of your transformation. They only see the surface. And because of that, you stop explaining yourself to people who are not meant to understand your path. You become more patient with life. You stop rushing to reach the finish line. You start trusting the timing of your growth. You begin to understand that everything you are experiencing is shaping you into the person you need to become for your future. Nothing is wasted. No challenge is meaningless. No setback is final. You are learning lessons that will guide you for years to come. You are developing qualities that will support you in moments you have not yet lived. You are preparing for blessings that require strength, patience, and resilience. You begin to let go of certain people without anger. Not because they were bad, not because you no longer care, but because you realize that their chapter in your life has ended. Their role in your growth is complete. Holding on to them would only slow you down, and releasing them frees both you and them. You learn that letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of maturity. It is a sign that you trust your path. It is a sign that you are ready for new connections that match your new strength. The person you are becoming values inner peace more than attention. They value depth more than popularity. They value consistency more than excitement. They value growth more than comfort. This shift in values changes your entire life. It changes how you make decisions. It changes how you spend your time. It changes the people you surround yourself with. And piece by piece, you create an environment that supports your growth and protects your peace. You develop a quiet confidence, the kind that does not need to be announced, the kind that does not need validation, the kind that comes from knowing that you have survived things that once felt impossible. You walk differently when you know your own strength. You speak differently when you trust your own voice. You carry yourself differently when you understand your own worth. This confidence does not come from ego. It comes from healing. It comes from growth. It comes from rising again and again. You start setting boundaries that once felt difficult. You say no without guilt. You protect your time without fear. You choose your relationships carefully. You stop allowing people to drain your energy. You stop allowing situations to pull you backward. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors that you control. They allow in what aligns with your peace and keep out what disrupts your growth. A person who cannot be broken has strong boundaries because they understand that protecting their energy is protecting their future. You become more aware of your thoughts. You notice when you begin spiraling into fear. You notice when your mind tries to return to old wounds. Instead of drowning in those thoughts, you observe them. You question them. You replace them with thoughts that guide you forward. This awareness is one of the greatest strengths a person can develop. The mind can either be your greatest enemy or your greatest ally. And the moment you take control of your mind, you take control of your life. You understand that success begins long before results appear. It begins in the heart. It begins in the mind. It begins in the small daily actions that no one sees. You keep showing up even when progress is invisible. You keep trying even when doubts whisper in your ear. You keep moving even when the path feels uncertain. This commitment builds an inner strength that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks. You are no longer driven by outside approval. You are driven by the vision of who you want to become. You stop waiting for motivation. You rely on discipline. Discipline becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when emotions fluctuate. It keeps you moving when inspiration fades. It keeps you aligned with your goals even when life keeps testing you. Discipline is the quiet force that carries you forward when your heart feels tired and your mind doubts. Every day you practice it. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you become stronger. You learn that consistency, even in small steps, compounds into a resilience that no one can take from you. You understand that progress is not measured in dramatic leaps, but in the steady, persistent choices you make day after day. This is how unbreakable people are formed. You begin to notice the power of your words. The way you speak to yourself shapes the way you experience the world. When you tell yourself you cannot do something, you set limits. When you speak with confidence, even quietly, you reinforce the belief that you can overcome challenges. When you say affirmations of strength, you begin living them. Your inner dialogue becomes a tool of creation instead of destruction. Every phrase, every sentence, every thought builds either your resilience or your weakness. And you choose wisely. You learn the art of patience. You see that rushing only leads to frustration and mistakes. You notice that life unfolds in its own timing. You learn to trust the process and yourself. You begin to understand that waiting is not wasted time. It is preparation. Each pause, each quiet moment, each delay is shaping your character. You grow into someone capable of handling bigger challenges because you learn to wait, to observe, and to act with clarity instead of haste. There will be moments when old fears resurface. Doubt will try to creep in. Moments of loneliness may return. But now you know how to face them. You do not run. You do not panic. You breathe. You observe. You act. You remind yourself that every challenge is temporary and every lesson is permanent. You know that your value does not depend on others' recognition. You know that your peace is more precious than any approval. You know that your journey is yours alone. It is sacred. You begin to trust your instincts. You notice the subtle guidance that comes from your body, your heart, your inner knowing. When something feels off, you pause. When something feels aligned, you move forward. You start listening to yourself before the noise of the world. You understand that intuition is a compass built from experience, from pain, from wisdom earned. The more you follow it, the stronger it becomes. And the more you trust it, the harder it is for anyone or anything to shake your confidence. You start to see setbacks differently. You no longer view them as failures, but as information. Each setback teaches you where to improve, where to be cautious, where to persist. Every mistake becomes a guidepost. Every rejection becomes a lesson. Every moment of struggle becomes evidence that you are stretching beyond your old limits. You start to realize that life does not break people. It only reveals who is already strong enough to withstand it. And you're becoming that person. You begin to release resentment. You stop holding grudges for things that happened years ago. You stop replaying painful memories in a way that drains you. You understand that forgiveness is not for the other person. It is for your own peace. When you let go of resentment, you free up energy for growth. You make space for clarity, calmness, and focus. You notice how light it feels to walk forward unburdened by the weight of anger or bitterness. This freedom is part of what makes someone unbreakable. You learn the value of quiet focus. You no longer seek constant validation from the world. You stop broadcasting your every effort. You work silently. You improve privately. You let results speak instead of words. You understand that the most powerful people rarely announce their progress because their strength is proven through action, not attention. And as you adopt this mindset, you notice how much more control you have over your energy in your life. You begin to see your own growth in subtle ways. You respond differently to stress. You remain calm when others panic. You think clearly when confusion surrounds you. You refuse to let chaos influence your choices. You prioritize your peace and clarity above temporary discomfort. You notice that patience, discipline, and self-control are not just traits, they are muscles. And every time you exercise them, you become stronger. You develop an inner confidence that does not need proof. You no longer feel compelled to justify your decisions. You no longer seek permission to be yourself. You no longer fear being misunderstood. You trust your path. You trust your strength. You trust your wisdom. You understand that your value is inherent and nothing external can take it away. This quiet, unwavering confidence is what makes someone impossible to break. You begin to enjoy the simple moments more deeply. A quiet morning, a peaceful walk, a conversation with someone who understands you. You notice the beauty in stillness. You feel gratitude for being alive and present. You realize that joy and contentment are not found in constant excitement or approval, but in the ability to be at peace with yourself. And this peace becomes a foundation for your resilience. You start making choices that honor your growth. You stop returning to people who pull you backward. You stop engaging in activities that drain your energy. You choose actions that strengthen your mind, your heart, and your body. You recognize that every choice you make either builds your unbreakable self or weakens it. This awareness changes everything. You no longer allow distractions to control your attention. You prioritize growth, and growth prioritizes you. You realize that fear is no longer a dictator. You learn to feel it, acknowledge it, and act anyway. You do not wait for courage to arrive. You create it with each step forward. You understand that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move despite fear. And with every decision like this, your inner strength grows. You notice how resilient you are becoming simply because you refuse to let fear stop you. You begin to embrace life fully, without needing everything to be perfect. You accept uncertainty as part of the process. You trust yourself to handle whatever comes. You recognize that life is not meant to be completely predictable, and that is what makes you adaptable. Adaptability is strength. Flexibility is power. The more you can bend without breaking, the more unbreakable you become. You start to see that your journey is unique. No one else's path defines your progress. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop envying achievements that are not yours. You focus on your own growth, your own healing, and your own strength. And in doing so, you notice